As you can see, we have a fine body of men and women assembled here as our parliamentary candidates. They are a symbol of what has now reached the dizzying heights of 500 candidates. Including virtually every single constituency in London. Bar one or two that we will not stand in. I'm confident that we will have a candidate in every constituency in London. And at this rate, depending on when the general election is, we're going to have a candidate in every constituency in England, some way short of every constituency in Wales and Scotland, and not as a matter of principle at all in the north of Ireland. So if it's a late election, by which I mean October onwards, I think we'll reach that level. If it's an early election, which I must tell you is what I think it will be, in the second or third week of June, then you can say so we'll have a minimum of 500 candidates standing. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming here today, members of the media and our prospective parliamentary candidates en masse. I don't know how many we have, but it looks like quite a lot to me. Our headline today is the England cricket star Monty Panesar, who's described, as a Scotsman, I don't know a great deal about cricket, but he's described as a left arm spinner. Yes. And that sounds just about right for he's going to hit a few people for six, and he's going to take the wicket of Sharma, the misnamed Labour MP for Southall.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
I am confident that Monty will be bowling for us in that parliament there after the
Brilliant, great!
We have two candidates who are former British ambassadors. If their excellencies are present, forgive me not starting off with them, but Monty trumps most people. We have a former Conservative member of the European Parliament, UKIP and Conservative member of the European Parliament. We have a former Labour parliamentary candidate, former Conservative, Labour and Liberal Democrat councillors. We have assembled in such a short time a remarkable team which is going to change this election. You should look at it this way. I speak really to the media here. We will have the same impact on Labour that Mr. Farage and the Reform Party are likely to have on the Conservatives. In other words, we will win seats, but in potentially hundreds of seats, we will materially affect the result. As I think you'll find is going to happen in the West Midlands mayoral election on Thursday, and maybe elsewhere in local authority results. The truth is, there's a huge number of people in Britain who are fed up with the two cheeks of the same backside. They don't find either cheek any more attractive than the other, and they're not prepared to vote for the backsides that are presented to us as the best that we can have. We say Britain deserves better than the dwarfish political class that leads the opposition in Britain. I've just come from asking two questions on Gaza in the same session at Foreign Office questions. The minister, the able deputy, would be good if we could question the actual foreign secretary, but we can't. But his able deputy put the blame for the impending genocidal attack on Rafah, a tent city of 1.6 million people, bringing forth a bloodbath the likes of which we have not seen since the Second World War. Both the minister and David Lammy, the shadow foreign secretary, put the blame on the Palestinian side, the people who are about to be massacred. Both of them said that the Palestinians should accept the latest, what David Cameron called very generous Israeli offer of a ceasefire, without mentioning that the ceasefire very generously offered is a 40-day ceasefire. Not a ceasefire, but a pause in the mass murder. And that is what we are up against in this country. We have two political parties, virtually undistinguishable one from the other. To paraphrase Orwell in Animal Farm, the people looked from pig to man and man to pig and back again and could no longer discern the difference. And that's what it feels like sitting in the British Parliament. And we believe there's a very healthy market for a very different alternative. And that's what we are offering here. On everything, from the National Health Service, to the economy, to crime, to immigration, to all the issues that vitally concern the British people. And of course, primarily we are here for Britain, but we are also here for Gaza. We are the only party that stands four square with the Palestinian people in their agony. And we make no apology at all for that. Indeed, we're proud of it. And many of us fighting this cause for many decades, in my own case, no less than half a century. So I've mentioned some of our candidates, some of the people they'll be standing against. I don't know if Aroma is here. Aroma, do I need to make the pun? Her name is Aroma. She's going to drive out the bad smell in Manchester, Tameside, cast by the sitting Labour MP, Angela Runner, as you might come to call her. She's under such pressure from Aroma. The story is she's looking to do a runner to a better, safer billet. We are talking to 3 Labour members of Parliament and 1 Labour Lord. I know you probably think we shouldn't be talking to a Lord, as we don't believe in the House of Lords, but we would quite like our first member of the House of Lords as long as it exists. And we are expecting a significant number of local authority defections to the Workers' Party next week, as early as next week. So for a party that's just 4 years old and secured its first member of Parliament only on the 29th of February, I guess you would say that progress has been rapid.
Rapid. Yes.
Anyone want to ask a question?
George,
And
how do you explain standing against those Labour MPs who broke the whip last November to vote for a ceasefire in Gaza?
well, the main answer, I could go through them all and give you other answers, but the main answer is this. Any Labour MP elected puts Keir Starmer into 10 Downing Street.
Yes.
And we are not prepared to countenance that. We will not vote for or ask anyone else to vote for a member of Parliament who will be whipped to support the ascension to number 10 Downing Street of Keir Starmer. We hold him responsible for co-responsible for crimes against humanity in his support for the siege on Gaza, cutting off of water and electricity and food, which he said, we saw his lips move on Nick Ferrari's show on LBC. He said that Israel had the right to do that. That makes him complicit in what is a genocidal act. And so, if you think about it, we'd be derelict in our duty if we encouraged in any way the election of such a man to be Prime Minister. Yes?
Can I just ask on the candidates you were talking about? I was a little confused because you said you might not have them all in place if the election was called earlier. How many do you have in place now
500.
already? So how many will you have in place if the election
I'd like to have 650,
And counting.
including the Speaker. We'll stand against the Speaker. Other parties may not do that, but we hold the Speaker responsible
Yes. Hear him.
for wrecking the parliamentary opportunity which the SNP properly had by avoiding a vote many thousands of dead people ago. So I hope we'll stand in every seat, except where, and it's a small number, there are exceptional independents standing that we support. And the most obvious example of those is Jeremy Corbyn, who
Yeah,
presumably
yeah. Thanks.
will be standing as an independent candidate in Winton North.
And sorry, just what is the logic for that, for standing in so many rather than concentrating your efforts on fewer seats?
Well, we want to be in the national opinion polls. We want to be on television in the party political broadcasts, and we want to be in the leaders' debates. Wouldn't it be good if Keir Starmer had to debate with me? How do you think he would fare? How do you
They
think
can't
he
handle
would,
him on his own.
fare? Yes, sir.
George, Wendell Daniel from Streetlight, we're always hearing you talk about the two cheeks from the same backside. Do you believe those cheeks are flapping today when you look at this?
We can hear them.
What a metaphor. You're tempting me down pathways I shouldn't go. Judging, if you can tell by body language and the length of some people's faces, they're not looking forward to the contest. If you think about it, let me take Aroma and Angela Rayner. Her majority is 4,000. Aroma will take a minimum of 10,000 and a maximum of 20,000 votes.
Excellent.
That puts Angela Rayner out of Parliament. I'm perfectly sure. And there are others that I shan't name, but whose election hopes have been very severely dashed. I give just one place as an example. Runcorn. Anybody been to Runcorn? Both of the members of Parliament in Runcorn are members of the Labour Friends of Israel. Why? What's the connection between Runcorn and Israel? Why are they so infatuated with a country that is plausibly, according to the International Court of Justice, guilty of genocide? What's there to be friends about? Why aren't they in the Labour Friends of, I don't know, Thailand? Or any other country in the world? Why are they so obsessed with Israel? I'll tell you why. Because it has become, since the days of Tony Blair, the way to get on in the Labour Party is to declare yourself to be a friend of Israel. 37% of Labour members of Parliament are members of the Friends of Israel. A huge number of them have had all expenses paid there. And a significant number of them have received very significant financial support from either the Labour Friends of Israel or others associated with the Israel lobby in Britain. This is deeply unhealthy for our politics in general. By the way, 80% of all Conservative MPs are members of the Conservative Friends
Wow.
of Israel. Who knew that conservatives in Britain loved Israel so much? This is unhealthy for British politics, but it's particularly unhealthy for a party that claims to be, on its membership cards, a democratic socialist party. What's democratic? What's socialist about being a friend of Israel?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes, sir.
Two quick questions. Have you had any communication with the Muslim Vote campaign at all? And also, will you be running candidates in constituencies which already have some pro-Palestine independent candidates, Liane Mohammed, for example, Jeremy Corbyn, another example?
Well, as I say, there will be places where an exceptional independent candidate wants to stand and where we judge that they're in a better position to win than we are. I've given one example, Jeremy Corbyn, and there may be others, but there will not be a large number of others, because we have a party building agenda also. If we get hundreds of thousands of votes, which I assure you if we field hundreds of candidates, we will, and then that puts us into the Premier Division in Parliament in terms of state funding, in terms of the right to stage debates, in terms of being able to be prioritised at question time, and so on. But we are ready to talk with someone who comes forward and makes their claim.
George, from Frontline News. Given what's happened with the Nasser mass graves and the Americans allowing the Israelis to actually investigate themselves, how do you see your partnership, or if you were elected into office, how do you see your partnership with the Americans?
Well, we think we have a deeply unhealthy relationship with the United States. One of the reasons why I supported Brexit was I wanted to be free of the European Union's foreign policy, but not so we could slavishly follow the United States foreign policy instead. We are now perfectly placed, if we wanted to be, to have an independent foreign policy, independent of both the EU and the US. But we have to want to, and we have to show that we want to by electing members of Parliament who declare that they want to. We stand for the withdrawal from all such international entanglements, which in the 19th century was, of course, a traditional British foreign policy. But we stand for it vis-à-vis NATO. Like Donald Trump, we see no use for NATO, and I'm hoping that if he's elected in November, he'll make good on his promise to leave NATO. It would be the finest thing that a President Trump could do. We want to see the end of what is, in effect, the largest war machine in the world today.
George, can I ask a question?
Yes.
What would be the Workers' Party's view towards...
Well, you should know that because you're a candidate in the election. Our attitude is that this war should never have started. There was no need for this war.
Absolutely right.
And moreover, it could have finished within 2 months of having started. If Boris Johnson hadn't gone on behalf of the United States to wreck the already initial peace proposals that had been agreed between the parties in Istanbul. Our attitude is that the war in Ukraine didn't start 2 years ago. It started in 2014 when the elected president of the country was violently overthrown in a coup co-organized by the United States and the European Union. Many people were killed in the execution of that coup. The parliament was burned down, the members of parliament forced to sign the outlawing of the Russian language, the othering of fully 1/3 of the whole population of Ukraine, and then 8 years of attrition with bombs and rockets raining down on the Russian-speaking people of eastern Ukraine. So we believe this war started a long time before most of the parliamentarians consider that it started. We believe that if the accords, which were attested to, guaranteed by France and Germany, had been implemented, and if the peace agreement reached in Istanbul had been allowed to take place, come to fruition, then the war would have ended almost 2 years ago.
I can see BBC and Sky, and I think ITN as well. If anyone of you have a question you want to put, no, was it done? Okay, great.
Thanks for the Guardian. Is there a point at which Jeremy Corbyn has to make up his mind about whether he's going to run or not before it sort of interferes with your own preparations to run in that seat? He will not do so.
It's a good point, you know. I don't know why Jeremy is delaying an announcement that he will be an independent candidate in the fall. I sit beside him in Parliament and we talk, but I can't say I've got a very clear picture of what it is he intends to do. I don't know if he thinks this, but if he thinks that there's any chance at all of Keir Starmer allowing him to run as the Labour candidate, I think the chances of that are vanishingly small. And in any case, I'd say to him, why do you want to be Keir Starmer's candidate? Why would someone like you, who's been treated in the way that you have, why would you want to be Keir Starmer's candidate in the election? So I hope very much that Mr. Corbyn announces soon that he will be running as an independent. I would have hoped, indeed I called for it on the eve of my own by-election victory, that he would lead an alliance of forces like ours and many others in a united front for new politics in Britain. But it's already plain, I think he's not going to do that, at least before the general election. I do hope that he doesn't miss the vote. Will that do? Yes, sir?
Are they nailed on? There's going to be an announcement next week, or are they still sort of talks in progress? Because it's going to take something to convince them to cross the floor.
I know they're definitely not nailed on. I won't mislead you on that. But the talks are ongoing. Not all of them, by the way, are endangered by us. And if they stood as independents, I think we'd probably support them. I can't say who they are or who the Lord is. Well, I know who the Lord is, but a member of the House of Lords. I can't say, that would not be seemly, but talks are ongoing is probably the best way to put that. Yes, sir, again.
When you're going from Street Night, final question about Diane Abbott. Will Diane Abbott be invited to join your party in the event that there's no conclusion to the investigation which is taking place that has currently taken just over 12 months?
Well, we'd be delighted if she joined us, but she's not one of the people we're talking to. There's no indication at all that she'd be interested in that. But again, just like with Mr. Corbyn, I would hope that she would run as an independent. If this absurd trial over a short letter to a newspaper were not concluded in time for the general election, that would be simply monstrous. Any others? Any of my colleagues want to say anything? Amjad, former member of the European Parliament. Very nice to see you.
Thank you very much. I think at the forefront, we want to represent this country. We are proud British citizens. My father came here. He was a mill worker, uneducated, and he achieved a great deal. We owe a great deal of debt to this country. We now want to contribute to the development of this country. We want to bring manufacturing back to this country. Manufacturing that we lost. We are not just an IT and a banking hub. We want to manufacture. We want to have We want to have jobs for all our people that we can be proud of, and not laugh at the people who are unfortunately unemployed or asking for disability allowances. This is what our party's all about. We want us all to have the opportunities. If you look at countries that have been successful since the Second World War, China, India, South Korea, they manufacture. This is what we've lost. We need to bring manufacturing back. I come from the north, from the Yorkshire, Lancashire, the wool industry, the cotton industry, the manufacturing industry, which is gone. That's what we want. And we want a great leader like George, who's been so brave. For the last 50 years, he's fought for on the right side, when others in this country have represented themselves and only themselves. George has truly represented this country. And we have a great lineup of people here who are self-sacrificing, who are going to do great when they do the battle in the mother of all parliaments back there.
Bravo. Okay, the one you've all been waiting for. The left arm spin bowler himself, the one and only England cricket ace, Monty Panesar.
Everyone's probably asking the big question, why have I joined this party? And I think the only reason is I'm here to represent the working class people of this country.
Hey, well done.
And when I played cricket for England, I know I got so much support from the public, and now it's my time to give back to the working class, make sure that the gap between the rich and poor gets closer, and that's why I'm joining this party, and hopefully I'll win my seat at Southall and Ealing and make a difference to this country.
Bravo.
Well done.
George. We've also got an England International Rugby League star, but we're saving his unveiling till next week. Yes, sir?
Harry
Do you want to say
Booter.
something?
Harry Booter. I think you know me.
See you later. This is Harry Booter, who stood against me in Bradford West. Parliamentary election in 2015.
We are the old enemies now.
Now we're friends.
We're friends. And, we will take this fight together where it needs to go. Nobody else is speaking for the common people. George is the only party, or Workers' Party is the only party that allows us to have free speech, and that does not exist anywhere else in that house. I think that's what we need. We need to bring free speech back. I served for 23 years in the Royal Navy, Armed Forces. I have suffered a lot of racism in the Armed Forces. But I'm here today, survived, and fighting on, and this country will go keep fighting on until we get the right for the workers and the right for the people. And that's what we're advocating. And I think I'm standing in, you better tell them, I think, George.
Standing in Bradford South. Thank you, Harry. Thank you. And finally, I think, Aroma Hassan, who's standing against Angela Rayner in Greater Manchester. Aroma.
Aroma!
Who do you think?
Salam, peace and love to all. Had I known I was speaking today, I would have prepared something.
Same here.
But I'm just going to go with the heart. I am no seasoned politician. This is not my ambition. But this is for all the other mums who feel their children have no future with the current status quo. This is for all the working people who keep working and their taxes keep rising and their wages keep shrinking, and the cost of living crisis is just tapping us at our heels. We just can't keep up anymore. So I want to be the change we all want to see, and I think everybody here is here for the same reason. George has given us something to believe in, and it's been a very, very long time that any of us have had anything to believe in. This is our time. This is going to be the change we want to see, and we're going to do it for all those who are voiceless. We are going to be the voice that you've been waiting for.
Last one then. She's just arrived. our candidate against David Lammy. One of the most interesting contests in the whole election.
Good afternoon all. Thank you for taking your time to come out today. It's really important that you understand that this party represents the voice of the working people, the ordinary person in the streets, in the shop, in their office, with that person that's feeling that the government's not doing what it needs to help them get to their, even live on a daily basis. So because of that, and because of what we've seen in regards to inequality, it means that so many of us have felt the need to really take action. Most of us didn't set foot to be politicians, but we felt we needed to do something. And thanks to Mr. Galloway, we've been able to put our efforts in. So I hope that I'm able to bring change to Tottenham. Tottenham is a place that is passionate and laid on my heart. Not just because I'm a Spurs fan, but because it's an area I grew up in and it needs to have some change, not just regeneration happening in places, but everybody in that borough needs to be able to rely on its local authority to help them support themselves on a daily basis. So I hope to give change to Tottenham.
Bravo! And that's a change we all want to see. Well, I thank you all for coming. If you need any one-on-ones with any particular candidate, please just come forward and do that.
We'll move the podium and get a big pic of George with everyone. George will come forward. We can do one-on-ones, and for the candidates, stick around. We've got our photographer that'll get a picture with you and George, okay? So I'm going to move the tripods now, and then we'll get a picture with George Ford.